big star out of me. They'll make a film about a man who's sad and lonely, and all they gotta do is act naturally. Well, I'll bet you I'm gonna be a big star. Might win an Oscar, you can never tell. The movie's gonna make me a big star.
Meet me at the movies on C19 TV. I hope you're doing very well. This week I am Noel, team manning the second. And to my right...
Is this a European version of the show?
What just happened?
I have no idea.
On the right show?
I have no idea. We do talk movies. I'm Noel, team manning the second. To my right, Christian. Yes, Christian is the Critics' Choice Scholar. Christian, how are you, buddy?
Doing well. It's debatable how much we talk movies. It's about 50-50 movies and then just the other half. I don't know.
Random usefulness.
I don't even know what to call this show.
What should we call it?
It's not entertainment.
Nope.
I don't know how to categorize it.
Yeah, well, and you know, do you really have to categorize things anymore?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you
that's the
don't.
trend now.
No, you don't. You don't really have to categorize things. That over there, who is that? Oh, that's Felix Unger. Felix, welcome.
Yeah, that's kind of.
It works, doesn't it?
I get that.
Yeah.
This first one, I'll go with you.
Yeah,
on
Felix
that.
Unger.
Yeah,
Good to see
yeah.
you. And I see that you shaved since last week.
Actually, it fell out. I don't know why. It was all over the pillow one morning. I have no idea. I don't know if it's a radiation thing or what.
Well,
It could be like facial balding, you know, instead of just up there, you're just losing it here.
Male pattern baldness
Yeah.
in reverse.
Yeah.
yeah. I was talking to Tim.
It was
Foster.
unnerving, I'll say.
I was talking to the Timinator back there on the Tim cam,
good
mission
one.
control. Hey, and there's Catherine. Catherine, good to see you. Tim was saying that he put some stuff in your shampoo. Now, do you use? Yeah, it was.
Like Nair?
Nair. It was Nair. Yeah, he mixed it. He mixed.
Well, that would have made my hair fall out, right?
He said he knows there's
Well, I
certain
did use
days.
shampoo on my beard. I
He
did.
said certain days you don't wash your hair, you only wash your face, and so he had to prepare it. He knew.
Well, he's really not supposed to be telling people
He-
that.
I know, but that's what he said. That's what he
He's
said.
good at charades. I feel like he does a lot with
You know
the
what?
hand
He would be.
Oh, you
pretty,
have no idea how good he is at hand gestures. Trust me.
Well, he would be pretty awesome in the. Oh, there it goes. Oh, watch out! Watch out!
Have to edit that.
He would be pretty awesome in the first movie we're going to talk. Awesome in the first movie we're going to talk about. Last week on the show, we talked about some really bad horror films. It was really perfect timing. Talking about horror films as we approach The Quiet Place, which John Krasinski starred in, directed, also had a hand in writing. It's a movie that I've been looking forward to a long time. You and I got a chance to go to a screening of that, an early screening a week ago, and it's still a movie that's on my mind. You've seen it 2 more times since.
Yeah, I've seen it 3 total times since Wednesday. So that's
Wow.
what, like
3
3 in
times.
6 days.
So some things that's just to share about this movie, $17 million budget. Worldwide, after one weekend, $71 million for this
Wow.
movie worldwide. It really exceeded all expectations. A relatively short film, hour and 35 minutes long. Only 7 total characters in the film if you include a dead body on the ground.
And a man in woods.
A man in
he was
woods.
credited.
You'd have to include.
Yeah, you got to.
Kevin Costner was a
Kevin Costner
body.
was,
and-
yeah, in The Big Chill.
Yeah, The Big Chill.
But 4 main characters that kind of drove the story. Krasinski starred along with his wife, his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, who was in this. Millicent Simmons is in this movie, and she was in Wonderstruck, and she is deaf. And in the movie, she plays someone who is deaf. And Krasinski, when he cast her, he said, I don't want to cast somebody who is just a good actress who can pretend she's deaf or act like she's deaf. I want to cast this person. And so he really fought hard for that. The only other lead was also in Suburbicon, young kid, and was in Wonder last year. But interesting film. I'm going to let Christian kind of give you some thoughts on this movie, and then we'll kind of give our take on it. But you know, it's been an interesting year for films that have silence or silent elements in it. This one is called The Quiet Place for Purpose. Shape of Water had a lot of silence with some sign language. War for the Planet of the Apes also had that. I mentioned Wonderstruck, and also Baby Driver had elements of that. So an interesting 6-7 months when you start thinking about, well, actually probably going on a year when you're talking about movies that are taking things in a little different nature. We're so big thinking about these Marvel Cinematic Universe films where everything
Loud
has
action,
to explode.
yeah,
And
movies
this is a different perspective.
It is, and I just wrote down brilliant, just simply brilliant. One of the best films that I've seen in a long time. And the acting, even without dialogue, you can see the emotion on their face, and you just feel this connection to each and every character, even the child actors, which are as impressive to me as John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. One really interesting thing when I was talking to my fiance, because she went to watch the film with me, and she took 3 or 4 ASL classes at Gardner-Webb, and a big part of the deaf community is facial expressions, because since they aren't speaking, you have to use your face almost as much as you use your hands to communicate your point.
Right.
And so it made sense to me that they would hire a deaf child actress, because who better to use facial expressions to make you feel and connect than a deaf actress? And she was really a standout. All of them were standout. For there to only be 4 characters, each and every one just knocked it out of the park. The situation felt so real. For $17 million, the visual effects that you see are just really stunning, terrifying even. I don't know how you felt about it, but I was impressed.
I agree with you, and I think that's where the money was really put, was into the special effects, and they felt real. I mean, we've seen characters similar to this before, but not quite like this. I think if you go back even to Alien with Sigourney Weaver, Ridley Scott film, that probably set the standard as we've seen these type of characters kind of start to expand, or these type of aliens kind of start to expand. And yeah, very impressed with the special effects on this. The sound design, I was really impressed with. For a film called The Quiet Place, the storyline is something has happened, we don't know what. There's been some kind of post-apocalyptic event where aliens have come, and these aliens are drawn to sound. And so you understand that you have to be quiet, and you have to try to survive being as quiet as you possibly can. They're blind, but they are drawn to these sounds, especially the louder the sound, the more they're drawn to it.
But yeah, music by Marco Beltrami, especially during the emotional scenes, I thought it worked really well. I could have done without it on some of the quieter scenes, and some of the suspenseful scenes even, I think would have been really interesting without that music.
Right.
But still, that was a great element. Really just everything about it. I gave it an A+. Like, it's hard to criticize anything in this film.
Yeah, and I did as well. I gave this an A+, and I do not give too many A+, but it was
What's this rated?
It's rated PG-13.
So it's not a gory, violent horror movie or anything like that?
No, there are scenes that will leave you breathless. It is so well shot. This is, for Krasinski to, he's been in the Hollywood industry for quite a long time.
When did Jim from
Played
The
Jim
Office
from The Office
become a hotshot director?
Exactly, and the shot selections, the cinematography is something we talked about right off the bat from the opening scenes, where it's kind of setting up what's happening, and you're seeing just images. It was unbelievable. I was completely blown away. There were some things that I could nitpick if I wanted to, but I don't think there's a need to.
No,
and I'm not going to give a whole lot away. If you've seen the trailers, am I giving anything away about the wife?
No.
Okay.
If you've seen the trailers.
If you've seen the trailers, you know that the wife is pregnant. And there have been some who have kind of nitpicked and said, well, if you're in this situation, why would you ever consider having a baby? Why would you do that? Why would you have a baby?
Just like The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
when Maggie was pregnant.
to me, it's just like The Walking Dead. And the reason why in The Walking Dead they say we're going to have a baby is for hope. And I read interviews with the writers for this movie, and they said that in the beginning of they've been longtime friends, and originally they had her pregnant before the event happened. But Krasinski said, no, let's change it. He said, let's change it. Let's have her become a mother-to-be later in the story, because that shows that we're not giving up hope in this situation that really seems like it's a hopeless world. And that really said a lot to me. Incredibly impressed with this film. I will go back and see it multiple times. Christian's already seen it multiple times. Highly recommend this movie, and it exceeded any expectations I had for it. And I was hoping it would be good, but it went far beyond that. After the movie was over, we just kind of sat there and just kind of, wow. It's
How often do you do
film.
that, right?
Yeah. And a movie that you continue to think about a week later and still have it churning in your head.
And
Quiet Place.
I've seen it 3 times, so of course they are, but there's specific shots that have just like stuck in my head that I can visualize the angle, everything about that one frame of a scene. And it's not just one, it's throughout the movie. So many different scenes, so many different images just stick with you. The directing, everything about it.
Highly recommend The Quiet Place, now in theaters. It's going to be around for a while. So at this point, this is on my going to be on my top 10 for the year.
Wow.
Something would really have to change, and we've talked about that as well. Christian has seen 3 really good films. There were 3 of his best films of the year, including this next one, Isle of Dogs, which is an animated film, which is a different kind of film.
Yeah, so it's a stop motion film directed by Wes Anderson. So he's always had that quirky kind of style to him. But I think that the stop motion realm really is the perfect avenue for his directing. So the storyline is that all the canine pets in Megasaki City have been exiled to Trash Island.
Did you say Megasaki City? Or
Megasaki.
Saki, okay.
Megasaki
I just
City.
had to clear that up because I don't think I want to live in a city called the Megasaki City.
Well, you wouldn't want to live in this one either. Okay. So if you want to interchange the 2 terms, then you can.
I've been to some Megasaki cities.
Yeah. Which, who knows, maybe it was meant to be a pun anyways. But all the dogs have been exiled to Trash Island because there was some disease that they've contracted, and the humans all live in fear that they're going to contract this canine disease. And so a 12-year-old boy, Atari, sets off to Trash Island because his bodyguard dog had been exiled there, Spots, and he wants to find them and rescue them. So he begins this journey with a pack of dogs that he meets there to find his dog and then also try and convince the town to welcome dogs back into the city. And so I said that the enjoyment factor for this film is pretty simple. If you like Wes Anderson, you'll love Isle of Dogs. Everything he's ever done kind of culminates with this for me. Grand Budapest Hotel is still probably my favorite film that he's done, but this is easily in my top 3 for him because just the quirky humor that he has, the interesting shot selections, all of it really works well within stop motion. And he didn't just let stop motion be an excuse to take standard shots. Like, I was really impressed, if you still call it cinematography, I guess, I was really impressed with the shots and cinematography that he used, even though it's stop motion. Like, he had some overhead shots, some close-ups, some like wide shots panning in, and it was really interesting to see someone put that attention to detail in a stop motion film. It's not something I'd seen before. Alexander Desplat, who just won the Oscar for Best Score, he wrote the music for this film, works very well, used a lot of taiko drums, a lot of traditional Japanese instruments, and really just laughing the whole way through, the very quirky, sarcastic sense of humor, and I thought it worked great, and I gave it an A-. So, I mean,
all right,
great
A-.
film for me.
Well, as usual, I haven't seen it, but all-star cast, right? This has a huge mega cast in it. Yoko Ono, even. Right? Bill Murray, who else?
Scarlett Johansson. I didn't even write everyone down. I wrote directed by Wes Anderson, starring literally every actor or actress ever. I mean, just, you name the person and they're in this film in some voice role or another.
Well, very cool. A- and an A+ for films that we've talked about so far. And we're going to talk about one more. Ready Player One. This is one, Greg, that you actually do want to see now, but initially you didn't want to.
Well, I saw the trailer and it just looked like a noisy, CGI-heavy film, you know. And then at the end, it said directed by Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Okay, I'm in.
Christian and I both checked this out. It is heavy on the CGI, but it's one of these worlds where you're going into this kind of virtual reality to escape the rest of the world, which going into the
Sign me up.
Yeah, well, and it's and it's in the future. It's in the not too distant future, and the world has changed. And there was this kind of a Steve Jobs type genius that has developed this place called the Oasis, and it's where everyone goes to escape, and you can be anything and go anywhere you want to within this
Is
virtual
Oasis
universe.
virtual?
Yeah, it is. It is the virtual universe, and everybody has access to it. Even those who have barely enough money to eat find ways to have access to this because this is their escape. And
Kind of like the Cleveland County Fair.
yeah, exactly like the Cleveland County Fair. That's exactly right.
Without the corn dogs.
And well, no corn dogs. I don't know that they had corn dogs in the Oasis.
I mean, you can do whatever you want in the Oasis.
Yes, so. If you want corn dogs, you can find
yours.
corn dogs in
Fried
the Oasis.
Oreos?
Fried Twinkies,
Right.
fried liver mush, all sorts of stuff.
Leave
in
it to
the
Spielberg
Oasis.
to put the good stuff in, right?
Yes, exactly right. So you have this Oasis, you have this genius who has passed away, and he's left this, basically this treasure map. And this treasure map will allow anybody who who finds the Easter eggs or finds the keys to control the Oasis and also get a bunch of money in the process. That's kind of the storyline.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you've got corporations trying to do this, you've got individuals trying to do this, and there's one lead character who is just kind of a normal guy who is pretty good at this. And he's the one that kind of starts the journey of finding the keys to paradise, so to speak, with a lot of things in his way. What else do you want to add about the story that you think is imperative for people to know about the story?
Well, not so much a story as just a feature of the film is there's a lot of switching back and forth, as you can see in the trailers even, between reality and this Oasis. So you get a lot of live action performance, but then you also get a lot of this virtual reality where you're watching their avatars interact with the virtual world around them. So I think that was a really interesting move to switch back.
Yeah, and I was actually concerned going in, how will that work?
Yeah.
But it worked really
Spielberg
well.
said that was the biggest challenge for that film, was making the audience care about the avatars. Because if they didn't,
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work.
Well, and you did. To me, the transition between the worlds felt seamless to me.
It
felt
did,
real.
because of the fact that I wasn't even thinking about the fact, oh, we're back to that animated character.
Right.
It was just like, oh, there's that dude.
It's an extension of the character.
It's the extension of the real life
Yeah.
character, which is how they portrayed it to be in the world, but it's also how it came across in the
Yeah.
film, which the transitions were just seamless.
Great. Talking about Easter eggs, just a million or so Easter eggs from Spielberg, from pop culture, from so many different things, especially throughout the 80s, that show up in this film. It was, to me, this was a wonderful film. It was a wonderful adventure. If you like Spielberg adventures, I think this has all the elements of that. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
When it ended, I said, this was just a fun escape, much like going to the Oasis was for many of them.
Or the fair.
I'm sorry?
Or the fair.
Or the fair.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of fun. I mean, I didn't think it was the best film in the world, but I gave it a solid B+. Well worth checking out, and I'm glad I got a chance to see it. What was your rating?
I gave it an A-, so we were pretty close. And it was really just a breath of fresh air for me,
Yeah.
because not just the music, everything in the film really was that throwback, classic Spielberg adventure film that we had so often in the 70s and 80s. And he's moved more now towards the biopics.
Right.
But it was so great to see him, because in a film like this, you can't beat a Spielberg adventure film. And it was just so well made. I smiled the entire time. And even a little bit of kind of cultural concerns that he brings up with, like, where are we going with technology and our virtual reality, and kind of it balances the importance of how much time should we spend there, and I thought that was interesting.
Well,
too.
there was a key message that actually talked about the importance of living in the real world and not living only for escape.
Yeah.
Finding a way to connect with humans and human, personalities and
I wish
that
I
human
could figure out
connection.
what the key is to that one.
Well, you know what? After the break, maybe we'll come back and maybe Catherine Manning can let Mr. Tillman over there know exactly what it is, how he can find human connections and live in this real world. You are watching Meet Me in the Movies. Christian, thanks for joining us. We'll be back with Catherine. She'll be out here, and we'll send Christian back to Mission Control with the Timinator right after this quick break.
Education is our most powerful tool to improve and change our world. Hi, I'm Rhonda Benfield, your host for School Matters. Join me for a new program every other week with information from and about the students and staff of Cleveland County Schools. Discover what our schools are doing to challenge students and help them reach their full potential. You can catch us on Spectrum Cable Channel 19 or stream us live on C19.TV.
Be a part of building the future. Be a welder. The Welding Technology program at Cleveland Community College prepares you with the science, the technology, and the skills to be a successful welder. Experienced instructors using state-of-the-art equipment train students using industry-standard skills developed through classroom training and practical application. Successful graduates are in high demand and are employed as entry-level technicians in welding and metalworking industries. Learn more. Call Cleveland Community College at 704-669-4077.
Hi, I'm Paula Vest from Cleveland Connections, the show that explores what's happening at CCC. Join us as we sit down with members of faculty and staff to discuss programs of study, upcoming events, and other campus news. Watch each month on C19 or streaming online at C19 TV. Join us and connect with CCC.
They're gonna put me in the movies. They're gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome back to Meet Me at the Movies on C19 TV, and if you're listening to the podcast through WGWG.org, we appreciate that as well. I am Noel T. Manning II, along with Oscar Madison. Oscar Madison over there. Oscar, good to see you, man.
I can relate to Oscar as well. Ask my wife.
You can relate to Oscar and Felix.
Yeah, I
You're a
am.
little both.
I am.
You're a little both.
I'm a neat slob.
You are a neat slob, or a slobby, yeah, a neat slob. I like
Yeah,
that.
the other didn't work.
Yeah,
I
that
thought
didn't
about
work,
that
didn't
too.
work.
Yeah.
Movies, that's what we talk about here. Even when we get them wrong, we have people to correct us. To my right is a person that has no problem correcting me. That is Catherine Manning, Critics' Choice Scholar, and I have been saying The Quiet Place for the movie. I was wrong.
It's A Quiet Place.
It is A Quiet
A
Place.
Quiet Place. What
A
did it say on the
Quiet
graphic?
Place.
Was the graphic
It's
right?
A Quiet Place.
So the graphic was, okay.
The
So
graphic,
the
it's
script that
yes,
I have here.
see?
Well, see, the script I have here says the.
I know,
So-
I know. Again,
See, I have an excuse. I didn't see it.
once again,
Not, why am I bragging about that?
Once
messed
again,
up.
once again, I messed up. Once again, I'm wrong, which again happens all the time. And when you have somebody like this beside you that tells you that, you are very humble. And so,
Noel, I love you.
thank you, man. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Catherine, welcome back. Good to see you. You've got home delivery. There are a couple things you're going to talk about. New movies that are available for home delivery, including one that was just released this week. Actually, both of these released this week. So dive in, and you enjoyed both of these.
I did. Well, the first one is Molly's Game, and it stars Jessica Chastain, Idris Elba. I think I pronounced that right. I looked it up. I think
You
that's
did.
right. And anyway, Jessica Chastain plays Molly Bloom, who was a real-life person who this film was based off of her life. Molly was an athlete doing really well for herself, and then she has a devastating career-ending injury. So she ends up getting into poker, and she starts running these poker games.
And making a little money in the process.
Yeah, making a lot of money in the process. And I mean, she's very successful, and she makes sure that it's all by the books, that it's all legal. There is one instance where she does break the law, but for the most part, in like her 5 years of running these games, it's legal, it's by the books. But she ends up being indicted by the FBI. They take away all of her money, all of her earnings. I mean, she had millions in earnings. So this movie follows her journey basically throughout her entire life, throughout her childhood, all the way up to her indictment and her case.
You really liked this movie.
I did.
You liked the acting in it, you liked the writing, you liked everything about it, right?
I did. I thought that Jessica Chastain was perfect. I actually looked up a picture of Jessica and then the real Molly Bloom.
Yeah.
And they actually look very much
Wow.
alike. And Jessica, I've seen her in several different things. I really enjoyed her in The Help. So I've always been a big fan. So I think she played this role perfectly. And then Idris Elba did very well, as he was her lawyer, played her lawyer in the film. And then Kevin Costner played her father. And I thought he did a really good job as well.
Yeah, well written, directed by Aaron Sorkin as well. The first film he's directed, which really kind of blew me away. We talked about this back during award season. I loved this film. What was your rating for this?
I give it an A-.
Okay, A- for Molly's Game, now available for home delivery. Also available.
It's a good film. It
Very
is a good film. Yeah.
Also available for home delivery, this is probably one of Greg's favorite films for the past few months. Is it A Greatest Showman or The Greatest Showman?
The Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman.
This is where you can use your
Released
Z.
this week.
It was, yeah, just released this week on Blu-ray, DVD, and other forms. Why did you like this movie so much?
Well, I just love it. I just love it. I'm
There
a
you
big
go.
fan of musicals anyway. And I just remember coming out of the theater and I was like, wow, like this is a film that's going to be successful, maybe not necessarily with critics, but with audiences.
Yeah.
And it's been mildly successful with critics, but very successful with audiences.
And you got to meet one of the key stars in this too, and that was a pretty cool thing too, right?
I got to meet the bearded lady.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
And she shaved too.
She shaved as well.
did.
Or did
Maybe a
Tim
couple.
put something in her shampoo? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. So good. So anyway,
Who was that?
I have no idea. So well worth checking out. You know, the crazy thing about this movie, it was just in Shelby again last
like a week ago. Yeah.
And Christian was saying it was the sing-along version, so you had the bouncing top hat.
Oh, I didn't
So,
know that's why they wrote
Yeah, but
I
it's
don't
pretty
even
cool.
need the sing-along version because
Yeah.
I've memorized the soundtrack.
Well, and I've got the soundtrack in my car right
Yeah,
now as
me
well.
too.
It's
Me
a
too.
great soundtrack, great movie. I own my copy of this. It came this week, so I'm very excited that this movie is out.
You asked her why she thought it was so popular. Why do you think it was so popular?
You know, I think the story was solid. I think the acting was solid. I think it found a way to connect with so many different people, and it was a film that that provided hope, even though there were so many things that were going wrong in that time period.
That's
but
where I
think
was going to go
I think
with
it
it.
also provided you know, an outlet for hope for us today.
And it's a movie you feel good when it's over.
Absolutely.
And how often can you say that about
Yeah.
a film, that you feel better?
Yeah.
Almost cathartic in a way.
Yeah, and I just found myself, as soon as it was over, I wanted to see it again, and you know, kind of a different way with wanting to see A Quiet Place again. So I got it right that time. But yeah, this is a movie that as soon as it came out and as soon as we saw it, I said, I'm going to own this film. And I don't say that with every film, but it didn't take me multiple viewings to say, I'm going to own this film.
I think another thing is that P.T. Barnum's character, even though he definitely made some bad choices during the film, he redeemed himself, and he did that by admitting his mistakes. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of times, you know, in films, it's just a quick cover-up of the conflict. But this was, you know, he had to work through the mistakes that he had made. And so I think that's just important to any kind of story.
Yeah, and I mean, the casting again was just absolutely solid, from not just the actors, but the voice talent and those who were singing. I got a chance to see some of the behind-the-scenes work on this when you would just kind of see them hanging around in a studio, practicing, and it was just, you could see the chemistry with that group. It felt like a community, and it really showed itself for me on that movie as well. What was your rating for this?
A.
An A. All right, Catherine, thanks for home delivery. Greg, sorry we don't have time for your binge-worthy stuff. Sorry.
Sorry, why am I here?
I don't
again?
know. You're looking pretty. You're just looking pretty.
That can't be it.
That can't be it. Well, we do appreciate you hanging out right here on C19 TV. You can email us, info@c19.tv. You can also download the podcast by going to wg.org. Thanks for that partnership as well. I am Noel T. Manning II. That is Greg Tillman. This is Catherine Manning, the Timinator, back there with Christian Jessup. Christian's making notes on what not to do next week. And we will leave you
Like
with a
show
movie.
up.
Not show up. We'll leave you with a movie quote, as we always do. This comes from Ready Player One. You know, I think this is probably one of the best quotes I've ever shared. You know, ninjas don't hug. That's it for this week. Till next time, that is a wrap.